And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
You know, Daniel, I really think we should eventually record me saying that, so that way I don't have to... Well, you know, I add in a little bit of variability every time.
No, we're not pre-recording it.
We've already hit the commitment where it's like, nah, it's fine.
This is what, our fourth year recording, basically, because we recorded all 2020, 2021, 22, and 3. So, yeah, it's a fourth year of recording.
Yeah.
So, we've already committed to it. We're sticking with it.
All right, fair enough. Well, today we have a fun episode. We're going to be doing one of our board game breakdowns, one of our patented board game breakdowns.
Yep.
Not patented. We don't have a patent on it.
No,
I don't think you could patent a concept.
You can copyright a concept.
You can copyright it, or like a title, trademark it,
Yeah, well, but even then, that's a bit of a struggle, too.
Yeah, but speaking of a title that's well known, almost as much as our board game breakdown, we're breaking down Days of Wonder games.
It's been a while since we've done a publisher. I was doing it, the last one we did was Best of Art. That's the first time we ever done an artist.
That's right.
We had Daniel Solis recently, where he broke down his games. I'm like, man, what haven't we done in a while for this?
Yeah.
And then we were talking about it. I'm like, dude, we haven't done Days of Wonder. How have we not?
How have we not done Days of Wonder? Right. Exactly. Like, it doesn't make sense that we haven't talked enough about it. And I think that's because recently they had kind of a slump of games.
That's true,
There's some good ones coming out and planned, but they're a very interesting company in how they work.
Mm-hmm. Especially as I was going through this to set everything up, I was like, oh, this is where they started triggering the once-a-year type thing, because there is a couple in there that was, in the same year.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple. So we'll talk about that in more details later on. Today, very easy episode. Mm-hmm. We are going to be talking about some of the board game news that's been happening. Now, again, we are not a news source. Take our information with a grain of salt. Yeah. We did get them from other news sources, some of which you've probably heard before. But, our goal is stuff that piques our interest.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's just this is something we've heard or we're looking into. And it's like, you know what? It would be intriguing for this kind of stuff to be seen.
That's right. So you have 4 pieces of news. I have 4 pieces of news. Let's start off with our coin of doom, since we're not going to be able to do that really during this episode.
Yeah. Starting with you?
Starting with me. So the first piece of news I wanted to talk about was I saw that Antoine Bauza, who is a pretty well-known designer, he's made Hanabi, Tokaido, Takenoko. Those are kind of his big names. And he's made a few others here and there that have gotten pretty well. Well, him and, I don't have his name listed down, but he's one of the founders of Repos Productions.
Okay, yeah.
They're going in together to make their own board game publishing company, which I think this is the first time he's been an actual publisher and not just a designer.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him, publish anything or, had time. Well, no, because he's part of that one group where there's a bunch of 4 or 5 French designers that work together, but I don't think they have their own publishing company. They just work together.
Yeah, they're just like a design crew and stuff, and they like to work together a lot. So, the company is going to be called Playpunk. They've announced that some games are going to be, I think, remakes, and some are going to be brand new games that are some big, some small.
I do like the new logo. It was a pretty neat logo.
I didn't actually see the logo, so we might have to do that later.
I'll have to show it to you later, yeah.
Yeah, but that found interesting. I was actually thinking about the other day. I was like, I haven't heard about any games that Antoine Bauza has came up with lately, and apparently this is why. At least this is my assumption. Maybe he has, and I just haven't been following him enough, but that might be an idea for a future breakdown episode.
I get him mixed up with it's the Bruno sauce, Fedudi and Cathala, but I sometimes get his messed up with Fedudi as well, just because both of them kind of hit in the same category for me. I'm like, some of their games are really fun, some of their games are kind of
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're going to be looking into, so that should be fun. I'm curious to see what games they come out with, but that's the first piece of news that I have.
Well, it's interesting too because we're also seeing a lot of companies go out, and then you're seeing new companies come up, and it's the way of most things. But who was it just recently just closed their doors? The ones they did Encyclopedia, I think is who it was. They just shut down.
Holy Grail Games.
Yeah, Holy Grail Games just shut down. Now we got Playpunk coming up.
Right.
There's another company that just shut down their games, and there was another announcement of another gaming company coming out, but I don't remember what it was. But my first piece of news, mine is more along the crowdfunding. I do a lot of backing and stuff like that.
That he does.
On GameFound or Kickstarter, more recently BackerKit stuff as well. But I found this interesting when this was announced because I mentioned the Kickstarter stuff, or the crowdfunding stuff. But we don't really talk a lot about the pledge managers.
No.
There are 6 companies have gone exclusive pledge managers to GameFound, because you have Jetbacker, you have GameFound, you have Kickstarter as a pledge manager as well, or BackerKit that's how they started as well. So you have all these choices. Well, these 6 companies have decided they can Kickstart or crowdfund anywhere they want. However, they are exclusively using GameFound as a pledge manager exclusivity. Arcane Studios. This one is not a gaming company, but I found this one interesting as well. Geek and Sons, the board game table people.
Mm-hmm.
Not All Play, but the originators of the crowdfunding board game tables, Geek and Sons.
Yeah.
Flat Out Games, Van Ryder Games, Open House Games, and I'm not familiar with this company. I looked into them. They're a miniatures company. It's Corvus Belli.
I've not heard of them.
They're all GameFound exclusive on the pledge manager side.
Very cool. And just to clarify what a pledge manager is, after they do a crowdsourcing campaign, after it's done, a pledge manager is normally something that they have afterwards, where you can say, okay, well, I want specifically these items, or here's my address, and it just kind of manages the whole logistics of it. Mm-hmm. And there's companies who have made their business off of these tools that are used for crowdfunding sources. And just to reply to our friend Crate, we don't currently have a date yet, but hopefully soon. It's
in production at the moment. Right,
yeah. So hopefully soon. All right, next one I brought up, or I wanted to talk about, was there was a new game that was announced recently, and you already know what you laugh because it's one of our favorite designers. And I already told you, I was like, I call it. This is what I'm talking about.
Both of us had this on our news list, and he's like,
it's mine. Sorry, it's mine. A game called Spellbook, where you are putting together a spellbook, creating combos off of the cards to actually create or get points in different various ways. There's not too much information about it, other than the cover is really pretty. And the reason we bring this up specifically is by one of our favorite designers,
Phil Walker Harding.
That's right. So the new Phil Walker Harding game, it's pretty much like if there's something really exciting from Funko or a Phil Walker Harding game that's announced, we're probably in.
The thing about Funko, though, I've kind of cooled off them a little bit. Because a couple of their newer stuff has been okay, but when they hit, they really hit well. What is it? Rear Window, you said that one's really good. I do want to try that one.
Yep.
You just recently got a new one. You said you've played it yet, no?
Yes, I just recently played the Indiana Jones one.
Yeah, that one.
And normally I bring it up during my play games, but oh my gosh, that was really good.
Yeah, so
really good.
Like I said, they do well. Yeah. They hit when they hit, and then there's some not so good. There's a few on there that I'm like, man, I could do without. But
I also played Animated recently.
Is it good?
Anyway, it's one of those things. If it's Phil Walker Harding or now Funko Games or Prospero Hall, if it's one of their bigger games, I should say, if it's pushing the $25 to $35 range that they're aiming for,
or if we hear Stefan Feld,
those are some guarantees. And great, we're waiting still, but I'll give you posts once I know.
All right, so my next piece of news is still in the crowdfunding exclusivity stuff. This one specifically is Steam Forged are going Kickstarter exclusive, so any crowdfunding they do is going to only be on Kickstarter, because we've heard other companies going to GameFound, or I think Restoration is mainly doing BackerKit now. Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. Their Return to Dark Tower was on BackerKit recently, but I think their more recent one right now is on Kickstarter. Well, Steamforged is no, we're only using Kickstarter from now on. That's the main one. That's the biggest one at the moment. GameFound is really giving them a run for their money, and that's probably why they're signing these exclusivity deals.
Right. I mean, that's all just the point. Just because they're exclusive doesn't mean they can't bring other projects to other places. Sometimes.
No, that's
I know what that is, but or if they bring it directly to retail, it's only if if they need
a crowdfund, they're exclusive to Kickstarter.
I remember about 7 or 8 years ago when Target started doing exclusive games, and a lot of retailers obviously were annoyed by that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the companies kind of got around that fact, is that they're making exclusive versions of their games that's only in Target, and Target still does that.
And it's only for a brief moment too.
Yeah, so and it's only temporary.
It's right. 6 months or 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yeah, we found that out. Most exclusivities are only by a certain time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I wonder if there's a time frame on this one, or if it's only on, they have to produce a certain number that will go to Kickstarter. I don't know. I wonder what kind of deal they had to do to get that exclusivity.
Yeah.
It's me.
But then again, you kind of want to do some of that exclusivity to something like Target, because that's going to do where a lot of your sales are going to be. You want to be in these mass market areas.
That's right. Yeah, and exactly, just like video games. I mean, there's some.
There's a reason why I have an Xbox now, just because Bethesda's exclusive to them.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's just kind of a shame. I mean, thankfully there's no consoles for board games.
Exactly.
That's one lucky thing that we have in our hobby. The next piece of news that I had on here, the biggest convention in the country.
Our country.
Or not even in our country. In the world.
Well, it is pretty big, Gen Con.
No, it's not the biggest one, though.
But Essen, see, the thing about Essen, though, it's not just a board gaming con. That's why I'm what else do they have in there?
It's
a toying game.
No,
it's mostly games, but there is toys in there, too. It's kind of like the New York Toy Fair.
Fair enough. Well, the Essen Spiel Fair, do you remember their logo?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of tangram shapes, kind of shoved together. So apparently they decided that was kind of boring, and they now finally have a mascot.
I saw that.
Recently, they announced recently that they have a mascot, and much to my dismay, it's a cat. Yeah, it's a cat.
It was funny when I saw that news. I'm like, I wonder how Daniel's going to feel about this.
Yeah, it annoys me because it's a cat, but I get it. Really, nobody looked at that tangram shape and was like, oh, that's the Essen Spiel Fair. That's really obvious.
Yeah.
But, almost everything has a mascot. You're a sports fan. You know that firsthand. Everything has a mascot. There's multiple cities in Japan that have their own mascots.
Yeah.
There's pretty much, some cities around here.
El Paso has a mascot.
Yeah.
Which is a city about 45 minutes from us.
Yeah. Deming does, too. It's a dumpster fire. Sorry.
Send all your hate mail to Daniel at everydayboardgames.com.
It's totally not a real email. But I'm glad that they finally did that. That was lacking. I would have hoped it would have been more of an anthropomorphic meeple, probably, but even then, I get why they're doing that, because it's super cute and adorable and whatever. And it's still a cat. So.
I know you don't like cats, but they're actually very popular, especially in European countries, because a lot of those houses don't really have the room for dogs.
Right.
So cats are their go-to pets.
That makes sense. I get it. I don't disagree. I understand the logic.
Yeah.
I just, personally wish it was something else.
Honestly,
it could have been a newt.
It could have been a lot. Well,
could have been a capybara.
It's in Germany. What's an animal that's
a swallow? Could have been a swallow.
No, that's more French.
Anything else? Yeah, that's true. It is more French. African swallow. It could be one.
All right. So moving on to my next bit of news, because this is actually a big one for me. Renegade Game has been working a lot with, I believe it is Hasbro. So they've gotten the license to Acquire. They've gotten the license to some of those older, Diplomacy is another one.
Right.
They just got the license to a failed crowdfunding that I just mentioned it, HeroScape. It failed on, Hasbro's Pulse or something like that?
Yeah.
Renegade just got the license to print HeroScape.
Mm-hmm.
So I just I've been wanting to try the game.
Yeah.
Because it's super expensive, so I can't really do it right now.
There's no easy way to
even if they do just starter sets or something like that, I'd be more than happy to pick up a starter set just to see, because that Hasbro Pulse thing, it's it was an all or nothing thing. So if they didn't fund, they weren't going to release HeroScape. They didn't do anything to. So it wasn't along the lines like Restoration, where they take an old game and they update it and make it better.
It was literally
the old school HeroScape, just kind of what they did with Hero Quest.
Yep.
That everybody was upset with.
They found the old files and just went.
Yeah, and then they were wanting like, I don't know, it was something like $5 million or something like that, and it was all or nothing. If like, hey, we don't get enough this, we're not going to reprint it. So I like the fact that they gave it to Renegade, who has a proven track record. I wish they would do more than just their license stuff, because they've done really good games in the past. I think the biggest game right now that isn't their licensed is Dead Men Tell No Tales and what is the other one? The deck builder Hunger. Because the only thing they're really supporting that isn't Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, or anything like that.
Right.
But because the way HeroScape works, because it's you have a faction fight against another kind of faction with those licenses, you can have G.I. Joes versus Power Rangers and stuff like that. So another tacticals type map like Unmatched and Funko, that would be kind of cool.
That would be. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be willing to give it a try. I know they technically rebooted it in Magic the Gathering Arena of the
kind of.
But they didn't support it at all. It could have been great, but it took a year and a half to come out with another base box and a single expansion for it.
And then even then it took it was out maybe 2 years, and then they just stopped support. And so there was like nothing for it, and then it just jacked up in price to make it where nobody was playing it.
Yeah, I agree. I own all of it, and I wish I did, or I wish I didn't, but no, I'm glad I do. But I wish that they did support it, because that would have been, I really think it would have been successful, because everyone was excited for it. They should have had like 6 sets ready to go, ready to just rapid fire for a year and then just see their place. That's what it should have been.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't own a multi-million-dollar company, so what do I know?
And answer Creative Chaos here. How much do you consider as expensive? It just depends, because some of these sets that are on HeroScape in the aftermarket are running about $300 to $400.
Yeah. Yep, just because of the license that's on it, they're not going to support it.
So they used to have like Marvel. They had like different license. Marvel, DC, I think was another one.
Yep.
Then you had your generic military. Yeah, so it is really, really pricey.
That's right. So my last piece of news today is something that just happened as of today. We're putting this together because, as you might have noticed, some of the more observant viewers of us, we now have color-based clipboards. Ooh, fancy, right?
Yeah.
We bought some clipboards. No, but that's not the only reason. We're trying to increase our brand a little bit on our podcast. So we made a brand new logo. I'm going to show off a little bit.
This, it's you.
Okay, so I made a brand new logo. Here we go. That shows off the Daniel and Daniel Everyday Board Game Podcast, our traditional die that we have in there, and represents our colors. It's a little hard to see. It was a little washed.
Yeah.
But prepare to see that popping up in a few of our upcoming things. It's going to be like probably our title card now.
Yep.
It'll probably pop up as our logo when you search our podcast online. It's a small little thing. Well, you know,
it's close to it. Yeah,
it is similar. Yeah, I give you that. It's just a generic, almost tesseract symbol. So
yeah,
yeah. But I hear you. But I don't. Did GameCube? They didn't have yellow in it, did they?
No. It was just blue. It was the tesseract,
right?
blue, and it was basically a G in the center.
Right, because they missed the corner. Right, I got it. Okay. See, I feel a little bit better. But yeah, and we have a die in the middle to make out the tesseract. I'm justifying myself. I'm proud of my logo. Gosh darn it! And
it's one of your better designs I've seen.
It was indigo. Yeah, right. Ooh. But so prepare to see that logo popping up here and there, and we might even give away for like maybe a sticker or something. Like promote the brand a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
My last piece of news is the news that has been taken over the summer, basically, because there's a big game that's coming out by Ravensburger called Lorcana. It has a Disney license on it. There is a lawsuit with Upper Deck with the designer of Lorcana and Ravensburger. And I honestly, would we be a board game podcast if we don't talk about this?
Right, we'd be the only one not talking about it, probably.
So you and I both have read through Upper Deck's lawsuit. God, that was boring.
Yep.
It's interesting what they're wording, and what they're trying to say is that there was a NDA contract with the designer. When he broke their contract, in a sense, he went over to Ravensburger, and gave them the game that he was designing with Upper Deck, and so they're suing both for, I guess, cause, I guess you could say. It's interesting. Ravensburger has already come out and said none of this is true. It's kind of hard. It's a bit of an uphill battle unless they can prove a lot of the stuff they're saying, because I've read through both rules, and they're somewhat similar, but they're also similar in the aspect of other LCGs or CCGs.
I think it's less about whether they're similar and more of the fact that, and we were talking with just one of our mutual friends, and I immediately said in our group text, I was like, no. I was like, lawsuits like this, you can't copyright a mechanism. It's a different IP, it's a different company, it's a different publisher. None of that's the same. So therefore, it is like, I can make another copy of Monopoly and not call it Monopoly and change all the art, but if it functionally works the same, I can legally do that. That's technically how USAopoly got their start. Now they work with Hasbro, and it makes sense. But that's regardless. But that's what I'm saying, is that's not the copyright. But then there was brought up a good point that I didn't realize, is that this designer worked with both companies. And
he left one and...
Right, and one of our viewers on our podcast, he works with the company too, and he can speak to that. He brought up during one of our chats is that when he's working on game design, he can only do it for the company he's working for. Because of the contracts that they have. And that is a right of employment. That's like, if I'm working at a restaurant or a chain and I create some kind of food, like a new dish that I put on the menu there, then that is rights to the restaurant. They are the company that owns it. Or if any development company works.
I can even attest to that. My wife just got a new job in the corporate world. Anything that she comes up with idea-wise, it was in her contract that this company gets to own the rights to it.
Which is interesting. It's not an independent design group. And so that makes that a very tricky idea. If they can show that there was ideas that he took directly from it, they might have grounds to stand on, which is unfortunate that the situation happened, but it's still kind of crazy to think about.
And I agree with that. It's just along the things is like, if they have the receipts, and they might because they're filing this lawsuit, but it's just kind of like,
no lawyer would take this on if they didn't have some groundwork.
And the big thing about it too is when you're looking at it based on their lawsuit, because they're saying the rules are similar, but also their rules are similar to partially Magic the Gathering, partially Yu-Gi-Oh, any CCG that you've ever seen. Keyforge is a big one too. A lot of their rules are similar to something like Keyforge. So it's like, it's that idea, because there is precedence that you cannot copyright mechanisms. And so it's just kind of like, it's just what you're looking at in that contract-wise. But then again, Ravensburger can be like, hey, we didn't know. His contract was over when we hired him. So if he brought this, it's not on us.
Yeah, so it makes it very interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's worth looking into. Shady, like the guy who got Burger King popular back in the day. I'm curious to know that story. I'm not familiar with that. But, it's a weird idea. And, one of two things could happen. If they're able to prove that the mechanisms are something that he was working on originally, then they do have technically those grounds to file the case. Now, if they find him guilty about that, then that shows, like, well, then that means you can't copyright mechanisms, technically, but you kind of can if that was developed under that contract. But then on top of it, if he's found not guilty, or if he's found not part of it, then that kind of loosens up like the idea. It's like it kind of furthers that idea. It's like, oh well, I can use whatever mechanisms I want. Who cares about when I did it or how I did it? It's interesting. So we'll see. We'll report it. You'll hear it from here first. Assuming you don't listen to anything else.
You'll hear from here first. No, you won't. We do this like once a month, so...
you're not going to hear it here first, probably. But if you listen to nothing else, you're
again, this is stuff that we pick these news because it's something we're interested in.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's in a documentary. Can't remember the name, but it started...
He started at McDonald's. I heard something about it,
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, now I love documentaries. So those are our pieces of news. we're going to now jump over into our board game breakdown, where we take either a publisher, a designer, and we look over their gamography, their ludography of work that they've done for the board game hobby.
I remember the first time you said ludography, and we were arguing if it was German or not, and I'm like, that's not German, it's French.
Well, even if it isn't, ography isn't, so
no,
we're fine.
I get it, yeah. I go with gameography because, well, we speak English.
Well, Ludopedia sounds weird. Anyway, so yeah, gameography.
Don't Google that.
Don't Google that, please. Don't. No. All right, so we're gonna talk about Days of Wonder. Well, for a while, they were one of the biggest names in gaming.
And they're still kind of big. They still have a following, especially now with one of their more recent games and one of their more recent announcements,
That's right. So, right here, Days of Wonder publishes top-quality, family-oriented board games that are easy to learn and fun to play. The name derives from the sense of wonder we all experience as children and first fell in love with playing games. I love that. I never knew the name of it, but I love that name.
Founded in 2002.
Yep. Global presence, 25 different companies distributed, offices in U.S. and in Europe. I've been to the U.S. one, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Very cool place. Never been inside. They didn't let me in.
All right, and there's our list.
So we're going to start right off the bat with, obviously, some of these were remakes. They said they were founded in 2002, so some of them were printed before, and they remade them. So we're going to start off with the first one.
Gang of Four. I have no clue what any of this is about. And now there's going to be some on the list that you see here that I don't have pulled up automatically. And it's just for the simple fact that they've published it outside the U.S. because Onitama is known as an Arcane Wonders game because it's a Dice Tower Essential, but they publish it outside the U.S.
Yep. So, Gang of Four, exciting game of cunning, strategy, and power. Game premise is simple. Be the first to rid yourself of all cards and ascend to supreme power, but beware the strategic misstep may find you in a struggle to survive. Don't worry, we're not going to read all these. That'll be pretty boring. But we're going to talk about our experiences with those. I've never heard of this one. This looks hilarious.
Apparently it's based off of the Cultural Revolution in China during the politics of 1970.
Okay. Well, some of the art, I mean, I saw the sickle and hammer for communism, it's the art looks okay. I mean, it's a little
weird.
It's a little weird, but it's very how would I describe it? It's very propagandistic, which I do dig.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty exciting. So Gang of Four, 1990. What was the designer on that one?
I closed that out already.
Well, you jumped the gun, didn't you? All right, Li Yi, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, now I want to look into that one.
You do that.
You don't think that sounds exciting to you?
Yeah, not really.
Okay, that's fair. All right, the next one.
The next one here we have on the list was printed in 1995. It just got a recent reprint outside of Days of Wonder by Mojito Studios, I think. I think it was just recently on GameFound. And this one is Mystery of the Abbey. I have not played this one at all. I heard, our friend owns it. Again, it's a Bruno Faidutti game, and Serge Leggett? Leger? French.
Which, Serge Leger, I think, just recently passed away this last year.
I believe so, yeah.
He was one of the main guys.
So apparently it's a whodunit deduction game in the spirit of Clue. You're a monk who's murdered in medieval French abbey. Okay. So it seems, like, the monks are of three orders. Fat, thin, bald-hatted, beard, clean-shaven.
So it's either on or off. Oh, so that's interesting. So it has, like, how many fat monks do you have? How many...
Okay, it looks interesting.
May either take a vow of silence or answer truthfully. Like, that's funny. You're going to opt to just not answer a vow of silence? That's hilarious.
Here's how some of the artwork from the Days of Wonder style is. Those look really cool. I do want to play this one. It's been intriguing. I love deduction games, so it's been on my list to play.
Awesome. Next one came in 2002, A Fistful of Dragonstones, which I believe this one was Bruno Faidutti and Michael Schacht. Michael Schacht is from Zularedo fame, and amongst other games. Bruno Faidutti, crazy amounts of games, but he's known for manipulating card games.
And bluffing.
And bluffing.
Which this has.
Fistful of Dragonstones. I want to say... This seems so familiar that I've played something like this.
It is implemented by Fist of Dragonstone's the Tavern Edition.
Okay, yeah.
Which is not... that was a stronghold.
Right. I don't think I've played this exactly, but I know I've played something similar from Bruno Faiduti that I thought was similar. But either way, this one...
Honestly, he's made a lot of games kind of like that style.
Yeah, he loves different kinds of bidding, closed-fisted bidding games. So
I think I know which one you're talking about. We've played it. It was a small box card style almost game, but you have a closed bidding.
Yeah.
I forget what it is. We'll have to look it up later. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, because I think I would play it with our group, but I might be wrong. They lend their magical powers. I'm assuming the different colored gemstones
have different values.
Like red, blue, and yellow. They have different values or different specialties of what they do. Yeah, this is standard Faiduti style.
Yeah. And again, it's like his buffing. It's got some decent components for something like 2002.
Yep. Screens, whatever. Oh, those are D4 dice. Those are D4s.
Nah, that's interesting too.
I love those style of dice. The sticks that you roll. There was one other game that did that. I think it was Nagaraja. I might be wrong. But there was another one that did those too, and I really like those sticks.
All right. Also in 2002, and this is what I was saying, is like you're seeing a couple of games in the same era.
Yep, this hard.
Yeah, this is Pirates Cove. Another one that I'm not too familiar, like early Days of Wonder before Ticket to Ride, I'm not too familiar with.
Yeah.
Designers are Paul Randalls and Daniel Stahl. Pirates plunder as they seek booty to bury and fame at the end of a cannon. So, I have no clue how this works.
No.
Apparently it has 12 turns.
12
and at the start of every turn, each pirate must decide secretly which of the 6 islands they will visit. All players reveal their navigation direction simultaneously, and then the turn is resolved. Any 2 or more pirates end up in the same island, we go into combat. That's interesting.
Yep, I would gladly play that.
I would try it. I do like nautical themed games. I like pirate games, so... except for Jamaica, I'm not a huge fan of.
That's a shame. I was going to make us play this weekend.
Jamaica?
Yeah.
No, we can play it, but...
Well, too late now. I've changed my mind.
I'm not even going to be here this week. What are you talking about?
Oh, good point. Next one we have is Queen's Necklace, which also got a reprint recently from Cool Mini or Not.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and so Queen's Necklace, you are creating the finest pieces of jewelry to attract the queen's eye, and you actually have like pieces of jewelry.
Yeah.
The original version from Days of Wonder, I know, had like this cardboard necklace thing that was just like a punch-out board. The Cool Mini or Not version actually had a necklace, which is pretty cool. I think you're like adding rings to like the strings and stuff. This is pretty cool. You're basically just trying to find like the best set combinations. Sounds more like a gin rummy kind of style game. It says from the slums where purse snatchers and courtesans work their respective trades. There's betting and bluffing, commodity, speculation, hand management, and set collection. So
if Faduti's tied to it, it's going to have bluffing in there somehow.
Yep, somehow. Somebody got lined other people. He's good.
There's the Seabot one.
Yep. It should be Luno Lie Dude.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just crazy.
That is the dumbest pun I've ever came up with. All right. Oh, and Bruno Cathala. So the Brunos.
I like Cathala a lot. Faduti, on the other hand, doesn't...
I had the opportunity to buy this last time we were at that bookstore that we go to.
Oh, okay.
And I thought about it, but I just hadn't done it yet.
The next game on our list was printed in 2003, as well as Queen's Necklace, and this was Terra. And again, like I said, I'm not familiar with a lot of these games. So this one looks like it was something it's a Faduti one, so it's interesting there.
This is not to be confused with the Terra game that is by Freedom and Freeze, too.
Yeah. This one, it says, if you don't cooperate to solve Earth's problem, everyone will lose. It's educational, apparently. Hand management, interesting.
Huh.
Like, I know nothing about this game. Decent art, interesting, but I mean, I guess it wasn't all that great because...
It's ranked to 5.7. It's ranked to 5.7.
Yeah.
Which ain't beautiful. Alright. The next one, I mean, we gotta talk about it. It's a promo card, it looks like. For Drachenfaust, Der Illusionist.
Which I have a Fist of Dragonstones, that's what it is.
Oh,
okay.
But you have the Illusionist card, which I'm already a fan of.
That's why I pulled it up. I saw Illusionist.
I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. You know me well. Published in the German card game magazine, Kartenfahrt.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Days of Wonder were real big proponents of that stuff too. They would put promos in these magazines. I know that from like Dice Tower talked about it.
Yep. Yeah, very much so. Cool.
So next up on the list here is the big one.
Ooh, here we go.
Ticket to Ride, Alan Moon, very popular game, one of your favorite games of all time. I do enjoy this game as well. Interesting. Pay attention to the next episode. It's going to be a board game brainstorm about this specific game.
That's right.
This one is by far the easiest one to remember. It's a set collection game. You're just trying to meet your tickets by pulling cards to put your trains out.
Yeah.
Very, very well done. Very, very simple. There's a reason why a lot of people call this a gateway game.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize, this is a very cutthroat game. People start getting in trouble with their spouses and start yelling at a couple. I've been through that. Not me personally, but I played with couples where they're about ready to go on a divorce. Yeah. Because of this game. Because it can be cutthroat. You can block people. That's why they instituted, I think it was in Ticket to Ride Europe, the train stations where you can hop someone's line using your train station.
Yeah. And not only can you don't lose points if you don't use them. So, if you use them, you don't lose points. Because at the end of the game, they're worth negative points.
No, not the train stations. The train stations are worth points at the end of the game.
If you don't use them.
Yeah, if you don't use them.
Yeah.
And so when you do use the train stations, they don't become negative points, but now you're not going to get as many points as you're supposed to.
Mm.
Because if you don't use them, I think they're like 10 points or something like that. If you use one,
like
it becomes to like 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's that push and pull, and we'll talk about it because it's going to be coming up here soon. But what do you want to say about this one? Because you love this one a lot.
I do. In fact, not only do I love this game, my wife was kind enough to play a game with me yesterday. Mm-hmm. Which she rarely does, and she normally holds some kind of caveat to doing so.
Yeah.
She has been asking to play this game lately.
Nice.
So I'm like, maybe if I wait a little bit longer, she might be willing to play more games, or I might just completely lose out and not even play this one.
Honestly,
one of the two is
I think
happen.
I know why she wants to play this one.
Well, she has a victory streak going on right now.
Well, there's that, and also she wants to kind of get familiar for other things.
Probably. That might have inspired her. That's right. But Ticket to Ride, yeah. Phenomenal game. One of my all-time favorites. I think it's in my top 20.
Of all time?
Yeah, of all time. I think it might have dropped a little bit for me because
I like it. I haven't
played it as much.
I don't like it as much as you do, but I do enjoy this game. In fact,
I
do.
I
do.
You do. All right. Next one came out in 2004. This is Memoir 44. A lot of fours in there. Memoir 44. Richard Borg. This is a head-to-head war game. I know they have created, it seems, I was going to say over hundreds. Over 15 battle scenarios is what it says. It's a historical board game. Each of these scenarios could be different
this
battles.
Is basically just in this box, not to mention everything that they've re-implemented, because there is a bunch of expansions and stuff like that.
Yep. Includes 144 detailed army miniatures, including highly accurate infantry, tanks, and artillery, 36 obstacle pieces, 60 command cards, 44 special terrain tiles, and 6 wooden dice. This is a 2-player head-to-head war game, and from what I understand, from everything I've heard about this, this is the war game for people to play.
They say
if they
2
like board gamers.
Players. This can actually go up to 8, just because what goes on here. I don't recommend that. I have never played this. I have wanted to play it.
Yes.
This is for people who want to try wargaming. That's what their big recommendation about this is because those GMT war games, those are very heady games. It's very streamlined, kind of Stratego-esque, very simplified when it comes to wargaming. This is how you get into it, and they actually are using historical battles. It's the only reason I want to play that. It's because my grandfather fought in World War II, so...
Right. Yeah, you're a big history buff. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Richard Borg, he's known for, more advanced war games. Mm-hmm. And he made this so people can get into wargaming. So, I mean, even if you don't want to get into wargaming, if you have the slightest inkling that you think that this theme might be interesting, and you want a good, solid system to actually fight against each other, I've heard that nothing compares to this one.
Yeah, I know some people start talking about Undaunted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where that's another stepping stone for it.
Sure.
But we were talking about how Ticket to Ride's kind of a gateway game for people into modern board gaming hobby.
Yeah.
This is a gateway game for people that want to try war games. Yeah, combat games.
And just to add on, Richard Borg, he based this off of his Command and Colors series.
Yep.
Which is a much more advanced series.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I'm sure they have a lot of things going on together.
Next one up, I did want to pull up, but we want to highlight this a little bit because, again, we're not going to talk about all the Ticket to Rides because there's way too many to get through it. The next one we're going to talk about is Ticket to Ride Europe because, like we were talking earlier, it made slight changes. It gives you these little train stations which allow you to jump someone else's line to collect your tickets. The thing is, like, I like this one more than America. Mm-hmm. But people struggle with this one because they're not familiar with the geography.
Right.
So
well, here in America, they struggle with it, right? I'm sure in Europe, it's pretty popular.
Yeah. Here in America. No. I don't disagree with that. I mean, the big one was like, was it Markland, which is Germany?
Right. See, and here's the thing. I have played this probably a handful of times, and I have played Base Ticket Ride dozens of times. So.
No. I played this. I've played this one more than Base Ticket to Ride, just because this is the copy I own. I got it for free from a friend who she's like, my family gave this to me. It's too complicated. Yep. You and Calissa play this. Knock yourself out.
Although I will say on this one, this is cool because the other day I went over to one of my wife's friend's house. This was a couple months ago actually, but they were like, "Oh yeah, we have a bunch of games too," and they opened it up and I see all the common ones: Monopoly. Sorry, all of that. And every single one of them is a mass market game, but then Ticket to Ride's there. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. You guys actually play that? Yeah. You're more gamers than I thought. Well done. It's not like the rules are more complicated, but that's still really awesome.
All right, so the next one on the list here is a big one, too.
Yeah. Shadows over Camelot. This is one of their big names. Bruno Cathala, Serge Leger. This was what kind of put both of those guys on the map. This is your Knights of the Round Table kind of working in the Arthurian theme and trying to complete different quests. You do so by playing cards, and they're pretty straightforward. They're simple cards.
Yeah.
But if you like classic style card games like Gin Rummy and like different things like along those lines, like poker, different parts of the board work in different ways. And you can play it. You can go to part of a board and say, fight against the Picts or the Saxons, or you can go and try and get the Excalibur from the river, or get the Grail, and all of these different Arthurian games systems, and try and figure out how to play your cards effectively. However, the big twist on this game, what sets this apart from most, is that amongst you there is likely a hidden traitor. And that hidden traitor actively works against. And you can try and go to certain spots and try and not play as well as you could. To kind of dwindle down the options for what people can do.
And the thing is, you have to choose like the right moment, or usually you're, okay, I'm not playing as efficiently, but I am still trying to help. Okay, I did really well here. But now I'm going to do bad here because there's a certain thing, and then you have to load up catapults and stuff like that because there's always a bad turn. And so the one time I played this, I was actually the traitor.
Yep.
And so at one point, there was a point in the game where I'm like, all right, it's time to reveal myself. I'm going to put a catapult here, which is going to screw everybody over just to help myself win, because one person could win if they're the traitor.
Yep, that's right.
And so it is very intriguing how this one worked. It was really good. It's not something I'm going to go out of my way to buy. I did enjoy the play of it.
It's very expensive still.
That too,
because they haven't really reprinted it yet.
No, it has not been touched yet.
I used to own this plus the expansion. And I ended up selling it probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And I kind of wish I kept on to it, but, you know, value is objective. It's excuse me. It's only valuable if someone's willing to pay it, right? I mean, Amazon is selling it for $300.
For our viewers, if they want to see it, it's a $300 game right now. And it's just because
on Amazon.
One, Days of Wonder is another one of those collector style companies. And this is a very popular game that a lot of people... And this is also the tabletop effect. When tabletop was really big in the early teens, a lot of the games that they featured there would sell out immediately.
That's right. Yeah. And then also, I want to point out, this was back when the Spiel des Jahres was giving, like, weird little category. Like, not just family game or gamer game.
Yeah, they had, like, fantasy game.
They had the fantasy game winner. So that's a thing.
Yeah, it was.
It might have been the only one. I don't know, but
yeah,
way.
It's just interesting that and this won a lot of awards too.
Yeah.
It was the Golden Geek winner in 2006 too. Yep. So.
Yeah, I wonder if this is one that I think a good portion of people want to see reprinted.
So then we get into a bunch of Memoir 44 expansion packs, Mystery of the Abbey expansion, Shadow over the Camelot, Ticket to Ride Markland is what we were talking about. A lot of people, that was one of their favorites. It was the Germany-specific Ticket to Ride.
Because it was based off of the German train company, Markland, toy train company.
Yeah. More, and then, more Memoir 44, and then 2006.
That's right. Now, this is a company, by the way, real quick before we get into this next game. Days of Wonder is a company that knows how to support their game. We were talking about games that weren't supported enough.
Yeah.
Like Magic the Gathering spent a year to do another slight kind of base set and one expansion. Days of Wonder did like 6 Memoir 44s in 1 year. Come on now. Come on now.
So the next one here is Cleopatra and the Society of Architects.
Now you've played this.
I have played this one. I've actually played this specific copy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's not the new reprint. This is another one that just got a reprint by a different company. It's really pretty. I played this specific version, and it's interesting. You're basically going into the market. You have two choices. You go into the market, take a whole selection of cards, or you're playing something to build. And so you're building obelisks, sphinxes, mosaics, and you're using the actual game box to build, because what happens is you have a player board, and so I'm going to pull up a picture right here. You have a player board where you're going to build up the sphinxes, and you want to get it all the way until Cleopatra reaches the end, because once she reaches the end, that triggers the in-game trigger. So you're building the obelisk, you're building the sphinxes, you're building the walls around the box, you're building the mosaics in the garden, you're putting out your statues to help you get rid of shame or corruption, I think is what it is, because if you have too much corruption, even though you have the most points, you're not going to be able to win, because your heart gets eaten by the crocodile. And so you're building her throne, and so you're basically trying to build all this, you're trying to be very efficient, because if you build more pieces, you get more bonus points and stuff like that. If you're building the second Sphinx, you get more points. If you're building the pair, so like if I build this one and this one, if I just build the first one, it's 2 points. But if I build the second one, it's 5 points, because I built twice. It's extra points and stuff like that. But you got to be careful about the cards you're using, because they'll give you corruption. Every time something gets built or finished built, like, so there's only 2 obelisks, there's 6 sphinxes, one of those sections get built, she moves up, and she keeps moving up until it reaches the end. Gorgeous game, very well produced. I mean, we talked about Ticket to Ride, we talked about Memoir 44, very well produced. This is probably one of the highest quality production games I've ever played for something that came out in 2009. 2006. This is not something you would expect around that time. You would think more Monopoly, cards, decent, but they were really pushing stuff for this.
Yeah, and this is one of the examples of why Days of Wonder was put on the map so well. They were known as the company that made the biggest, most grandiose productions. They put the best art, they put the best pieces, they made the best components. They spent the time and effort to make it a game that will last forever. So much to the point where Ticket to Ride is still using the same art.
Yeah. For every single one they pump out, it's the same art.
Yeah.
The same little plastic trains.
Right.
Unless you get the anniversary editions. But yeah, I mean, those are your where you hide your corruption until the end of the game. These will determine whoever wins the bid here can get rid of so many corruptions, and then whoever loses the bid, if you bid the least, you take 1 corruption. If you bid you bid the least, you take the most corruption. If you're like the second on the auction, you take like 1 corruption, and then the person who wins the auction can take away so much corruption, because it's all about that push and pull, trying to get rid of the corruption. Because if you have the most, you even if you've got the most points, you ain't gonna win the game. You automatically lose.
Yep, exactly. So it's worth knowing that how interesting it can be on this. But I love the fact that these components are gorgeous, and so much that the super over-the-top remake of this kind of got knocked because it wasn't as functional as it should have been.
Thing is, you're using the box. We'll pull it up right here. It's right here. They're nice components. They look really, really nice, but it doesn't function as well as, say, the original Cleopatra.
Yeah. So
I do like this aspect of it because you can hide your corruption inside the pyramid.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to say, like, now we're lucky because we have so many different games that are this high of quality as far as production, but I mean now it's just they're so good because Days of Wonder did that 15 years ago.
Now, the next one I have pulled up here is Battle Lore, but I think this is another one of those where it wasn't really a Days of Wonder. It was Fantasy Flight, and they just did the...
No, this was the idea, Battle Lore was made by Days of Wonder originally, but then remade by Fantasy Flight.
Okay,
but
I wasn't
Battle
sure
Lore
how it worked.
is literally the fantasy version of
Memoir 44.
It was a remake. So again, if you like that setting, and you want to... you like the idea of the war game, but you don't really like historical stuff, and you want to do like some fantasy powers and all that stuff. This is the difference. But really, it's more or less the same thing from what we understand. Now, if you're a player of both of them, and if there are differences, feel free to tell us in the comments. But I do believe that they are more or less the same.
All right, so the next one on our list here is a game you and me are not really impressed by.
No, so Colosseum. This was one of the newest ones.
And by the way, though, the Days of Wonder version, so you're seeing the Tasty Minstrel artwork here.
Right.
It's just what they have on here. The Days of Wonder artwork is so much better.
I think so, but I mean, it's more of the classic style. I do think the Tasty Minstrel version looked more modern. I mean, that is something that
I do like that
pop
art.
on the box,
Yeah,
or pop on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
But it basically you're trying to compete in the Colosseum, compete in a bunch of different events to impress Caesar or impress the emperor or whatever. Yeah. The Roman impresario is what you are, and you are trying to do these great spectacles around the Colosseum. When we played this, we were upset. I was annoyed by it. I really didn't like it.
It didn't like our friend really enjoyed it, and good for him. And our other friend enjoyed it too. Or you and me were both like, "This is really what everybody talks about."
Yeah.
I wasn't enamored with it. It was fine for what it was, but
right. It wasn't bad. I'd consider playing it again.
Yeah.
But I overall didn't like it.
I think,
that's going to be our review. We don't tend to talk about reviews that much.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something we played wrong, or we just didn't get the feel
I think
right.
it played right. It's just it didn't flow how I had want.
Right.
Because you expect something to flow really well, like Days of Wonder's been doing.
Right.
And so this one is just like, it's more of a start and stop. Okay, I did this, and now I'm going to wait for everybody else to do their turn. Oh, now we're going to do this stuff, and then we're going to do, okay, this is how my thing is going, and it just didn't intrigue me as much as I thought it would.
Right. Now, keep in mind, though, we played the Tasty Minstrel version.
Yeah.
We have not played the Days of Wonder version. If there were differences in the rules that we didn't know, that might be a factor. So take our review with a grain of salt, but we weren't impressed by it at all.
Not at all.
All right. Our next one, going back up, we have Battle Lore, Epic, Battle Lore, again.
More Ticket to Ride stuff.
More Ticket to Ride. We have the first expansion map pack, which is Switzerland. That's worth knowing.
And the Nordic countries.
Yep, and we got the Nordic countries. Yep.
The next one I pulled up was that one, because it's a lot of Battle Lore, Mystery of the Abbey, and then...
Yep. Ticket to Ride, the card game, which is not as high rated. I believe this is yours.
But I think you've played this. I have never played this.
I haven't yet. I've read the rules. Maybe I'll bring it tomorrow or one of these days.
Yeah.
Because this is one. You're doing set collections. You're trying to complete sets in a certain way. But I know one of the factors. There was something very specific about what happens in it. And let me see if I can read from here. Because there are certain times where you can play cards which will cause, like, if I play more of, like, a certain color of train, that will make everyone else discard that color of train. And it's those factors of, like, I can directly mess with you by making you discard your stuff because I just happen to play a bigger set than you did.
Yeah.
And it's not really a take that. It's more of, kind of like more of a classic card game style.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's different enough that I would really enjoy it. I just haven't gotten it to the table yet. It's been in my shelf game for a while.
All right, so keep going on. 2008, they produce more. It's for the group chat.
Okay.
Produced more for Shadows over Camelot, Memoir 44, Battle Lore as well. Ticket to Ride, the DICE expansion.
Which I've heard really pretty rough things about.
Yeah. The next one here that is pulled up is Gambit 7.
Gambit 7.
Apparently it's a trivia game designed by Dominic. I am not going to say Crapuchettes. By betting who will be the closest to the actual answer. So kind of like a wits and wager aspect, but not... You're not betting on the other players. You're saying who's closest to the answer kind of thing. But it sounds like wits and wagers, correct? Oh, no.
It does.
It is. Re-implements wits and wagers.
Wow, okay, so this was made after Wits and Wagers.
Apparently, yeah.
Gambit 7. This must not have been an American release, because that right there is Wits and Wagers.
Yeah, so... has been separate from Wits and Wagers based on game rule differences in the request of the designers and publisher. So there's your answer there. All players simultaneously write their answer.
I've never seen a box specifically about it. That they are all technically different.
Different, yeah. Either bet on subs or bet on another player's answer, the winning answer. Okay, yeah, so it is Wits and Wagers for everything that's described here. But it's separate too because there's a slight rule difference apparently. Yeah. But from what I'm reading...
Well, it can be played as few as 3. The more friends you gather, simply teams of 2 or 3. Okay, fine. But no closest, but no higher. Okay, winning answer. Betting does. 7 rounds of questions. I'm not seeing
any difference. Yeah.
Look at the board. I think I saw a difference in the board, and that's the odds on either side of it. Do the odds change? That's like a card.
Well, I was just there's this.
There we go. All right, there we go. Nope, that looks about right as well.
So, interesting. I did not know.
Huh.
See, we learned something new when we're doing this too.
That's odd. And the thing, Wits and Wagers was a significantly better production. That's the weird part.
Really significantly. So the next one on our list, and there's some more Gambit 7, some more Memoir 44. The next big Days of Wonder game here.
This is a hot one. Small World. Small World basically took risk and made it good. Small World, what makes it so much different, re-implements Vinci, which I guess was a game before that. This is a dudes on a map kind of game. Mm-hmm. You are sending out troops on different regions. Different regions have different factors depending on your troops. There were different amounts of points. The most points at the end of the game wins. But here's where it makes it so much different. There is so many combinations of cards. You have one factor on the left side, and then the characters on the right side, which will show you how many tokens you have of each of those.
Hence the numbers right here.
Yep. So if you're watching the video podcast, you could see we have Dragon Master Ratman or the Hill Giants, and you would combine those two titles together. Mm-hmm. One will give you some kind of an ability. The second one will show you how many troops you can have and also their separate ability. So those specific combinations are what you do. When you're spreading your influence, that is the only time you do it. You just straight up spread out, and that's when you're done. There's some movement around that you can do, but mostly you're never going to get any of your tokens back unless they're like undead or have some special ability to do it.
And you can move them around somewhat, so like you always have to. You can't abandon a territory.
Right. Until one of the rounds where you choose to go into decline, where you flip all of your tokens down, face down, they only become 1, and then you then choose a new faction that round. That makes it very specific, and you'd lose a whole round by doing it, but you still have that influence in the game, which makes it pretty cool.
The big part of it is you want to have the most influence at the end of the game. You see these little coins, these are the coins that you can use to buy stuff.
Yep.
But it's also your victory points at the end of the game.
Yeah, so you could go into decline pretty quick. Mm-hmm. This also had one of those systems where the higher up on the list that the different characters were, you had to pay coins to get higher up and get something potentially better.
That was one of my favorite mechanisms.
Yes. And a lot of games have done that same like drafting mechanism, which I really like. So this was overall a really cool design. I didn't like it that much. I've owned it plenty of times before.
It was
fun. I did enjoy my plays of it from time to time, but it is definitely not my favorite.
The thing about it is, it's one of the games that got me into modern gaming. Me and my wife really enjoyed this game. But we played the mess out of this because, again, this is one of the first games in modern board gaming for us. This may be the third game we ever paid for. Yeah. So, every time we'd go over to a friend's house, this was a simple game everybody wanted to play. So we played the mess out of this, including an expansion. I only got one of the expansions. But yeah, it was probably one of my most played games for the longest time. Yeah. This is before I kept statistics, so I can't really tell. Yeah. But I just remember playing it a lot, and I get thrashed every single time when I played against my wife. I mean, it just wasn't even funny. And then our friend Gamehead Geek, we used to play this one a lot. Him and me would start going into a border war with each other while my wife was just kind of minding her own business in the back, and we were just ignoring her because he kept trying to take my mountain, so I took my mountain back. What I like about this, too, is there is a little bit of a dice roll, push your luck kind of aspect of it. It's like, I only got this one piece, but if I go into his territory and fight him and I roll this die, I only need to get a 1 to get there, and then I'd roll the blank. So
Always.
Yeah, it is really cool. I like this. I love the way it worked, but I played it so much.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Next one here, we got some more Memoir, the 1912 expansion, which is the equivalent to the 1910 expansion for Ticket to Ride. So this one, Europa 1912, that's the first expansion for Ticket to Ride Europe. Then some expansions for Small World. Cursed is the one I was telling you that I had the one I had. So more Memoir 44, more Small World, more Memoir. So they were really supporting their game.
Yeah.
But the next big one that they produced was Mystery Express.
Yeah, which we should also point out. Around this time was when they were only really putting out one game a year. So every year you're going to see a new game. Now, they supported those games because they were very expandable. But they put out one game really a year.
And so this one, Mystery Express, I have not played it. I've won.
Speaking of Antoine Bauza.
And there's Bauza in another Leger.
Yep, Serge Leger.
This gives me Murder on the Orient Express vibes. Murder aboard a luxury passenger train. Be the first to find the culprit. Yep. The only thing is, we're all Hercule I can't remember what his last name is. I can't think of the name, but it's Hercule is his first name.
The detective.
Yeah, Agatha Christie is the writer. I enjoy a lot of the books. I've watched a few of the movies I've really enjoyed. But this one is, you're on the Orient Express in Paris, a murder occurs the rest of the trip, you're just trying to find out who did it. Nice little deduction, murder mystery game. If I could find this one, I would totally play it because this is up my alley. Deduction. I love deduction games a lot.
Yeah.
Murder mystery is probably one of my favorite kind of themes sort of stuff. Like, that's the reason why I like Mysterium so much, because you're technically solving a murder that happened, 100 years ago or something like that, because you're all mystics.
Yeah.
So, but it looks really, really well done. Something I do want to try, but it's also one of the harder ones to find. You can't even find it on Amazon. So
it's probably for the best.
3 to 5 players, it would be one of the harder ones to get because it's just hard to get just something that has such a small window of gaming too.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so next up on our list here looks like it's going to be Fictionaire.
Fictionaire, which this goes to the next one that I have not heard of at all. Hervé Marly is the designer. 4 to 7 players, very specific. 10 to 20 minutes. Wow, okay, I'm going to read this out loud because I really genuinely don't know what this is. Fictionaire, definition. Fiction who tricks opponents into choosing the wrong word definition in a dictionary game.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun. Right.
You may know it as Dictionary, Fictionary, Balderdash, or even Call My Bluff, the classic TV game show, but it's just as easily could be called Making Up Lies to Fool Your Friends. Fictionary is a new quiz game from Days of Wonder that gives you the fresh twist on the classic genre. Players make up bogus definitions or fake answers for a word or question asked by the game host, trying to trick him or her into believing that their answer is correct. To earn points, players choose the right definition or get someone to pick their answer. If a player calls bluff, or if a player bluffs someone into choosing the wrong answer, they get a bonus point. That is Balderdash.
Yeah,
that really is.
And it's funny because it doesn't even say
I like Balderdash a lot. But yeah, it doesn't. It says call it whatever you want. But Fictionaire, I guess, is like the Days of Wonder version of Balderdash. I didn't realize that they went into some party games from time to time.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Balderdash.
I haven't played Balderdash in ages.
I haven't either, but I really like that game. and it's always been a hit. It's been hilarious every single time, because you're trying to make stuff that's realistic, and some people just for the humor of it, they're like, I'll take a point just to make a funny joke, and it makes it hilarious when they do, but at their detriment. But they're having fun playing it, so good fun. I like it. So Fictionaire, if I see it in the wild, I'll pick it up.
Yeah. So going through here again. Back to supporting their other games because they had their one games. You have some Memoir 44, some Small World. I want to mention this one, the Alvin and Dexter expansion for Ticket to Ride.
The Alien and Dinosaur.
Yeah, it's so weird, honestly. I have never played it. I never tried to play it with those things. Have you?
Yeah.
How is it?
I have. It's actually kind of fun. Because one of them, I forget which one it was, actually moves along past and picks up trains and removes them from the board.
It's the Alien.
Yeah, I think it's the dinosaur is destroying the trains. And then one of them sits on a city and then ends up like making it worth more points if you connect to that city. Like it's honestly pretty darn fun. I mean, it's just two little figurines and some alternate rules.
It's basically
just silliness. It's probably really expensive to find.
So
it's pretty cool.
Their 2011 game at this time is Cargo Noir. This is not one that I am very familiar with.
No, I have looked into it just because it looks like a really fun bidding game. Serge Leger again. At least, yeah, auction bidding, set collection, worker placement. So Serge Leger, Cargo Noir is his fourth standalone box. I'm sorry, was I supposed to read this?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right. So every player is a family trying to smuggle in goods in the noir setting of 1950s, of course.
Yep.
And you're just trying to get each part for the right price. So basically, you're going around the board. Each board has a section of what pattern you're going to do, and on your turn, if it goes to your turn, and you are not the highest bidder somewhere, you can move your piece to try and outbid somebody. So, like, let's say you put, like, 4 coins on one spot, and I won it. I'm going to go 5 coins.
Yeah.
And only if it comes back to me on my turn and I'm the highest bidder on that spot will I then be able to take it for that price. Yeah. So, it's technically multiple different actions or auctions happening at once, but it's on your turn. You might be aiming for something else, or something else might come up, but you still have a stake in a different auction. It looks really fun, honestly. I love that system. I love the idea of that multiple auction idea, where if you're the highest at the beginning of your turn, then you can bid that, or you can just jump it to someone else. It's pretty cool. I want to play it. I know one of our friend, I think our friend Dom, does have it. He bought it used, but I'm very curious about it, and I do want to play it.
So the next thing, I just pulled it up because I realized I didn't bring it up because I thought it was an expansion. I forgot about it. It's actually a standalone expansion. Yes. So Days of Wonder started doing standalone. This is one of the first kind of standalone expansions they did.
Except for Ticket to Ride Europe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, technically, it's not a Ticket to Ride Europe. It's not an expansion. Whereas this one, you could implement some of these creatures into the original thing. Their powers wouldn't fire off as well to regular Small World. This is Underground, because basically Small World is where you're playing there, and this is like in the cave system of Small World, so the Underground. I have not played this one. It looked interesting. It gives you 15 new races and 21 new special powers. The board is a lot like the other one, except for it has like this little river system.
Yeah, instead of a lake in the middle.
Yeah, so it's intriguing how this one works. But it doesn't do too much different. I just wanted to give this a little highlight because if you like Small World, you would probably like this one. But it was really cool that they did this kind of standalone expansion, but this stuff could be implemented in the other game.
That's right. Cool.
And so that was... Oh, I did something I shouldn't have done. Oh, well.
Yeah.
These are all pulled up, so it's mainly just expansions.
Okay. Then we have Shadows over Camelot, the card game. Card game implementation of Shadows over Camelot. I haven't played this. Is almost even more rare than the base game. How much is it selling for? Let's take a look.
Hold on, let me just pull that up real quick.
$75 for a card game.
That's not too bad for some of the card games I've seen that are out of print.
Sure.
It's not great.
$75 for a card game.
No, I don't disagree with you. Yeah. I've seen worse. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. I don't disagree. Yeah, it's not something that I would ever buy just because that's too expensive. But if they remake it or into some other style, then you never know. But overall, I mean, Shadows of Camelot is a fun game. They just took, I think, it was mainly a card game anyway. They just had a board.
They just took out the board, really.
So they kind of just like cleaned it up from what I understand. That's all the only difference I'm aware of. Or not really cleaned up, but like kind of changed some of the mechanisms, but mostly it was kind of the same idea.
Yeah, there we are.
But that was Shadows over Camelot, the card game in 2012.
So we're moving on. We got some more expansions for a lot of stuff. And the next one here is Relic Runners of 2013. This one is a smartly navigate routes through the jungle, discover relics and fame. This is a Matthew Dunstan game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have not played this one. It's exploration, a network, and route building, pick up and deliver, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Each player takes on the roles of character keen to exploit and acquire relics. Relic Runners. Players must navigate a series of paths in order to visit temples. The archaeologists are restricted in their movement by their access to rations. So a lot of it is feeling a little bit of Ticket to Ride. I mean, even that board is giving me a bit of a Ticket to Ride.
A little bit.
I've heard people really like this game, though.
Yeah.
I've never played it.
Neither have I. I would gladly try it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that I'm learning more about Matthew Dunstan, I really do genuinely like his designs, and the components on it look awesome. You're about to click on like this little like skull totems or whatever. Those are amazing.
Those are really good looking.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can look at. I love that art, honestly.
Yeah.
And I love how that board looks.
Vincent Dutrait, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure anyway.
Well, let's find
I'm
out.
willing to bet that that's Vincent Dutrait.
No. Cyril Dajun and Julien Delval.
What?
I know.
What?
It looks a lot like Dutrait.
It does.
But look at these. Just look at those components. For those audio listeners, go check out the YouTube video because these components are something else.
Yeah, they're really, really gorgeous. They look almost Aztec. You have like a crystal skull, a little Aztec character like sticking his tongue out at you, bird of some kind. Those are awesome.
These are really, really cool.
And I saw the used price for it. It's about $100. That's pretty reasonable.
That's actually reasonable. I mean, you look
10
at
years old, you know.
Shadows of Camelot.
Yeah.
That was what, 300.
Yes. Yeah, 100 isn't too bad for something.
It isn't too bad, especially if you're a hunter. If you're a collector for these things, like our friend Dom is. That's actually a reasonable price.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Cool. And then the next one is Bruno Catala's real big one. We're going to go up map collection. There's number 4 now, but now we got to the big one. This one was hot when it came out.
Yeah, I still own my copy. I do have to play it.
I proudly own mine still.
There is
5 tribes.
One caveat for this one, just so everybody knows. The original one had something that a lot of people were upset about. And that was the slave cards.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, they're telling a historical thing aspect of it. Right. There were slave cards. Now they're only print with, what are they called, fakirs?
Fakirs, yeah. Yeah, and that's fine. I'm glad they made the change. I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
The original one, yeah, I get it. And they didn't want to glorify that idea that you're using slaves to help out with. But either way, this one, it uses a Mancala mechanism. The idea is that there's a layout of 6x5 tiles. Each ones are worth different points depending on which ones you get. You have meeples that are grouped up in all of the different tiles. You move them along Mancala style in whatever pattern you decide to move them. And the one that you land on is, first off, the action you take is which meeple goes to that spot.
Yep.
You take the action based on the color of meeple. Then you take the action of the tile itself. And if you were the one who removed, if you land on one that has the same color, that's when you do all that stuff. Yeah. You have to do that. And then you remove those from the board. And if you remove the last one of that tile, you then gain control of the tile. I'm surprised how long it's been that I've played it and how much I remember of it.
Well, yeah, it's been a while since I played it too.
Yeah, really standing out because of that. But then on top of that, every round, there is no first player advantage because you bid your coins or victory points to try and get the better moves. So, and it has a very set system where it's like, where one person lays down their piece and then anybody can go higher or lower, but the prices are already set in stone. And so you might pay like 5 more coins just to be like, man, I really want to get this combo.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been going after.
It's funny because I was looking at this picture and that's why I started laughing. It's like, I could tell this is a 2-player game right here.
Yep. 2-player games because two of those
playing against that cat right there.
Yep.
No, I really do dig this one. This is probably one of my favorite Cathala game, as well as one of my favorite Days of Wonder game. Not my favorite Days of Wonder, though.
No.
We're coming up on my favorite here soon.
Very cool.
But I do have to say this. That Mancala mechanism needs to be used more in games.
Yep.
I really do. That's what got me really into this. I love that whole aspect of I'm going to pull all of these, move them down the board, and then these are the ones that I'm going to use fire off their power. Because there's only one green here in 3 spaces. There's a big grouping of 3 over here.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and go you, and then boom, and I'm pulling off these green meeples. Those are going to be my powers.
I couldn't agree more.
I love that aspect of it.
Cool. Awesome. So that was 5 tribes.
So the next one here is, I did say we're going to mention these and talk about them, is the anniversary editions. The fact that they celebrate their games that are basically their evergreens, and they've, it's mainly Ticket to Ride, but Ticket to Ride 10th anniversary edition. This is by far one of the most beautifully produced games I have ever seen. Yep. So when you have your basic Ticket to Ride game, you have your trains that are of different colors. They're all the same design, but they're different colors. The big thing about this here is that it has a giant map, which it gives you more space, but it also gives you these beautiful individual trains based on your player color. So you got like a circus train for red,
with giraffe heads sticking out.
Yeah, with a giraffe head sticking out. You have like this barrels here for green, coal train for black. I don't even know what this is. I know it's yellow, but I just don't know what type of train that is.
Yeah.
And then the subway cart for blue. And it's very well produced to the point where people really, really like that. There's now a company that gives you unique design trains. Yep. I think they're called the Train Company.
The little plastic train company.
Yeah, that you can put into your basic Ticket to Rides. So, and here's a nice little picture that shows you the variation of these trains.
Yeah, the coal cart is my favorite.
I love that coal cart. Yeah. I love that one. No, this is my favorite right here. The one with the giraffe sticking out.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh. And so I do want to highlight the anniversary editions because they're very well done.
This was the first Ticket to Ride I made a mistake about, though.
Really?
And that's because...
I know the mistake.
When I learned about this, I was very excited to buy it. So I ended up selling all of my Ticket to Ride stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I sold my base copy because I was like, I'm going to have another base copy. I don't need 2.
Yeah.
I found out that the pieces on this were way too big for any expansion map. So this you can only play by itself, just so you know.
Well, you didn't have to buy another base thing if you just if the little train company was still around then.
True, yeah.
You guys
but they weren't. They weren't until last year, and this was almost 10 years ago. They're coming up on their 20th anniversary now.
Yeah, look at that board though. I really love this new board because it's massive. So you can see. From your section, okay, there's Calgary, there's Chicago. Okay, I know where I gotta go. Right,
exactly. And I love, I think there was an Easter egg in one of these where it's like, oh yeah, it's actually over here. Like, where they're like, oh yeah, the city, no, it's not even close, like where we have it pictured. Something to that effect.
And so here's one we were talking about, Onitama. There's known Arcane Wonders. I didn't pull this one up, but it is there. Then you have Small World of Spiderweb, some more 5 Tribe stuff, and so you're... Small World Designer Edition.
Yep.
That one was intriguing because along the lines of, say, Ticket to Ride Anniversary Edition, this was the same thing, but it was... And I'll just pull this up right now because it was like a travel box, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a wooden case that had miniatures for all of the pieces, or really deluxe tiles for all the pieces.
I've actually played this version.
Yeah, 3D terrain for the mountains, yeah.
Yeah,
it's very pretty, very over the top.
But it was so, and it was funny because when it came out, we were like, "Oh my god, that's so expensive!" But now you see that kind of price because it was like $300 when it first came out.
Now it's like,
and now that's what you see most of the Kickstarter games.
Right. Yeah, with the same production, sure. But.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this was really well done. I've actually played this version at Dice Tower West in 2019, and it was really neat. Yeah. Last time I played Small World.
yeah, last time.
So keep moving up. You got some more expansions. The first expansion for 5 Tribes just popped off in 2015. More Memoir 44 stuff.
All right.
Let's move over to the next page. Yep. And more Ticket to Ride. And then here in 2016, this is you.
All right. The next one is 2016 game from Days of Wonder, Quadropolis. This is their city building game. This one made a big splash when it first came out because of the mechanism that's in it is fantastic.
Phenomenal.
Every player has 4 little arrow tokens. They are numbered from 1 to 4. You are placing them on any side of a 4x4 grid. The number that's on your tile is how many spaces inward that you take that tile from. I'm sorry, a 5x5 grid, not a 4x4. You take that tile that's on that space, assuming there is one, and then you add it to your city. Each of the different tiles either gives you different kinds of resources, the energy, red, or transparent meeples, which is the population. And you're trying to put those different tiles onto others to increase the population or provide power to those other city tiles that you'll be using to gain points.
Yeah.
Because each one scores in different ways. Like the industry, or the industrial tiles, the red ones, they only score if they have people in there working. The residents are opposite. Parks will normally give you a resident. On top of that, there are shops where you want to provide energy to, and they're going to be scoring in different adjacencies. There's also, every player has their own board, which is numbered 1 through 4 on the top and the side. And the tile that you take it from, if you put down with a 2, you have to put it somewhere in your 2 row or 2 column. So there's a big brainy puzzle that you have to figure out as you're doing that. Also, on top of it, you have a couple pawns. And by the way, the components on this, I love the clear components.
Yeah.
The plastic meeples are gorgeous in this. But you put down this clear black pawn. I forget what his term is.
It's the architect.
The architect, yeah. And the player who plays next cannot take anything from that row or column.
Yeah.
So thus blocking off and restricting the space even more. Gosh, this is
my
up
favorite.
there for one of my favorites.
This is my favorite Days of Wonder game. I really, really do enjoy this one. So there's the player boards right here for those that see. And like he was saying, if you played your 2, you have to put in your 2 row or 2 column. And it's like, I don't really want to go here at either one of these because it breaks up like my harbors or something like that.
And see, this is like, there was another game that came out fairly recently called Meadow that took like that general idea.
Yeah.
And made a new game out of it. And it is a different enough game. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
But you can tell it took inspiration from this. That doesn't even hold a candle to this game, in my opinion.
Don't get me wrong. I like Metal, but this one, man, fires. I just really busted it out with my other game group.
Yeah.
And they really enjoyed it because they're like, oh my god, this is like a little puzzle trying to figure out how you're doing all this stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I love this mechanism, that idea, the way that all the tiles work, and they're not just like, oh, these score if certain things are near it. This scores if this is adjacent to that. No, it's like there are very different ways for it to work, and I think it's awesome.
Big part of me wants to see if Board Game Geek has a bunch of these promo stuff here.
Well, we'll definitely take a look at that here in a bit.
The Game Store, Trick Track,
Cruise Ship, Ludofact, Jardin Botanique. That's the Botanic Garden.
Yep. High-Tech Factories.
High-Tech Factories, yeah.
And then here's some more expansions. The 5 Tribes. Then you have Rails and Sails. Like I said, we're not highlighting a lot of these.
This one we should talk about, though. Rails and Sails was the first one that had a double-sided board because there was 2 maps on it, and it included boats. So you actually had boat cards. This, you could either have the full world map, or you could have the Great Lakes in the United States.
Okay.
So you had double layer board. You had 2 different systems of what it was working on, and they had slightly different rules and different player counts depending on the map. Much longer routes. You can get up to, I think, like 7 or 8 trains in a single one, and you had to use boats to go across water. It was a cool idea. I didn't like it because it made Ticket to Ride twice as long.
That's never a good thing. And here's the Great Lake one.
And I liked it. It was fine, but it just, you were doing just twice as much as what you would normally be doing. And it didn't add any, like, it just added, like, another, like, it's, like, if it's you and me, we're like, all right, let's play Ticket to Ride, but we're going to play it twice in a row and add our 2 scores together, and that's our real score.
Okay.
That's literally, like, I was very excited for it, and I got very disappointed when I bought it. That's one of the few Ticket to Rides I've sold.
Really? Well, you sold your base game, too.
Well, I traded for another base game. This is one of the few that left my collection I'm not getting back. Also, I do want to point out First Journey as well.
I do have that one pulled up.
Awesome. Yeah, Ticket to Ride First Journey. This is also worth knowing. This is specifically a kid's version. You're trying to connect the routes in a similar way, except you're not competing for points. whenever you complete a ticket, which is connecting those two cities together,
yeah.
you get to obnoxiously hold the ticket up to people and go, "Ticket!" or you shout something at them. I forget what it is, but you get to obnoxiously go, "I completed it, ah," and then you draw your next one. Which I love that idea, and even Alan Moon in an interview even specifically said that one of his favorite things about this game is just the fact that like kids love that I completed it, like the celebratory
yeah.
Take that. And yeah, it's super silly. The components are actually really good quality. It's like a $30 version.
I'm also going to pull up another version of it.
Yeah.
They have the US version, which is the normal one, but they also have one for Europe as
Europe
well.
First Journey, yeah. I highly recommend this if you have young players and you want to play a game. It's pretty fun, honestly, to play with kids in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's by no means as a next step to Ticket to Ride. Well, I mean it is.
Yeah.
But it's a really good introductory game for kids.
Next one I pulled up just recently, right now, is Small World, River World, because this is another one of their standalone expansion type stuff. It kind of implements the river aspect of Underground that we were talking about.
Sure.
And so it's another one of those, like, you could take some of these characters and play it in the other games. People were really big fans of it. I just wanted to talk about it real quick.
Yep.
Because it is a big game. Small World is very well supported by Days of Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get up to the next one here. Both of you, me, have played this one.
Yes, this was kind of like Bruno Catala's follow-up to Five Tribes.
Yeah.
And I say that very loosely because it's really not.
It's very different. It's a very pretty game.
Yes. It is stunningly gorgeous.
But the thing is, you haven't played Five Tribes in how long?
I haven't played it in probably about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and this one is relatively new to us because we both have played it, I think, in recently, like 2020 or so.
Something like that. Yeah.
We played a 2-player version of this game. I don't remember a thing about it.
I do remember it. I remember
It's
the
pretty.
action selections of like which tiles you're taking and which positions. Those get reshuffled and put on a different one. I know you're spreading the boats amongst them. You're trying to populate your boats from left to right, or from one side of the board to the other. You're trying to surround the islands, gaining majorities. Once you have majorities, you can gain control of them.
Yep.
They score in different ways. It's a very different game. I don't think it's too comparable, other than the fact that it's the same designer, same publisher, and it looks as pretty, if not as much. This one was one of the first ones that I think people started like. It wasn't. Like, it was popular, right?
Yeah.
And people really liked it, but I think when people started playing this and they're like, well, it's no Ticket to Ride. It's no Five Tribes.
I think
they started jumping ship.
I think this one was their last big hit until recently. Because I
Right.
think everybody was clamoring for this because Cathala, for one thing, and Days of Wonder, people were buying it. It kind of cooled off very quickly.
Yes, it did.
But compared to some of the other ones that we're about, I think it's not the next one, but the one after is where that one didn't even pop off.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so people started jumping ship, unfortunately, which I feel. All right. Following along those,
we talked
Ticket to
about
Ride
that.
First Journey, yep. Quadropolis expansion, Five Tribes expansion, Ticket to Ride Germany, the map,
More
which
Five
is different
Tribes.
than Markland. I think it came because
this
it's so popular.
its own.
Yeah.
This is for the world, but it's its own thing.
Right.
A lot of people didn't really care much for this because everybody wanted the Markland map.
Right. Which, give or take.
Some more Oral World stuff, some Sky Islands. This another one where we talked about River World and stuff like that. This added like the air aspect to it now.
Yep.
And then
Small World, Small World.
They had a lot of love for Small World.
Yep, that's right.
Ticket to Ride Europe, and the demos, and this is the next one I wanted to pull up to highlight because they went away from like their big.
I want to talk about the demo real quick.
Okay.
Because what that demo is specifically, and they brought that up because this will lead right into what we're talking about. They made a miniaturized version of Ticket to Ride that could be played in about 5 to 10 minutes, and it had fewer trains and only four players could play it, I believe, at the time, and some of the cards. This miniature demo version of Ticket to Ride is very, very rare, hard to find, but they made this for conventions. But at the conventions, enough people asked them for it that they decided, hey, we have an idea here, but how can we justify it being miniature? Well, Go ahead and take it away.
Ticket to Ride New York. These are the... I'm only highlighting New York. There is, 4 now?
There's
these
4.
smaller ones?
Amsterdam, San Francisco, and London as well.
So this is basically Ticket to Ride small maps. So basically they're Ticket to Ride city stuff.
Yeah.
This one, you're a taxi cab company rivaling other taxi cab people. Same thing. You're setting up connections. But this one, I think they call it fares in a sense.
Uh-huh.
And so it's that you and me played this. We were like both, small version. All right, we like Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
You and me played this in 10 minutes. We're like, okay, boom, 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 done. 10 minutes. Like, that was it? That was so quick. These are really, really well done.
Yeah.
I own the London version of this set. Just
I
because
own the first 3.
Just because it was so simple to get. I picked it up on a clearance sale or something like that. I like New York. I like London. I like the London one just because it's the double-decker buses.
Yes. Yeah, which is pretty great.
But all in all, if you play Ticket to Ride, you enjoy this one. It's just a quicker, faster version of it. And it's like even says here, but on a scaled-down map of Manhattan that allows you to compete in a game no more than 15 minutes. We were done in 10.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did go that.
And that's with the teach.
Yeah, and that's with the teach, exactly. So we played it, boom, 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 done and done. Yeah, it's cool, and each one of these little cities has its own little unique little twist to it. Yeah, a little twist based on the city that it's in. In New York specifically, it's like the different landmarks. You get bonus points for connecting to the Statue of Liberty. The Eiffel Tower. No, not the Eiffel Tower. The Empire State Building. Yeah, the big one, right? And so you have different ways to do that. So I actually really like it.
I do like these smaller versions, and they're much easier to get out because Ticket to Ride can play for a while.
Yeah, it's like a good 45 to an hour.
I want to get a Ticket to Ride game in, but not spend that kind of time. You bust one of these.
All right, we'll be done in 10 minutes. You got it.
And so this is the one that we were talking about recent. The next one here is what I would consider the first semi-bust of Days of Wonder.
Right, and I'll definitely be bringing that up here in a bit because I have a funny story of something that just happened recently with this game.
This is The River. Settlers build up a community along a meandering river. This is designed by Sebastian Pochon and Ismael Parin.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, I am a huge fan of Sebastian Pochon's games.
Okay.
Almost any of his games I am willing to give a try because he made Jaipur. He made a lot of the games that we actually liked from Istari Games, because he was a publisher of Istari. So some of the ones that we played recently were like, wow, that was cool. Those are Sebastian Pochon. I think Spirium is one of his.
Okay.
So
that was Simon. Spirium was Simon. It wasn't Istari.
No, it was. Spirium was Istari as well.
No.
But Spirium was designed by Sebastian Pochon.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. And yeah, it wasn't Days of Wonder. What I'm saying is so as soon as I found out that I was like, oh, a resource management game, worker placement from Sebastian Pochon, yeah, I'm in 100%. And I did enjoy it playing it.
It's a pretty game.
Yeah. So much that I wanted to get a copy. So rewind just a few days ago, right? I was like, man, I would gladly get The River. It was fun, nice and simple. I found a copy at Savers. And I was like, oh, fantastic. It was like $4. I was like, yeah, I'll gladly get it. Or $3.50, right?
Let me guess, it's missing half the components.
Well, so I picked it up thinking, yeah, now I can finally have it in my collection. I forgot I already had this in my collection. I own a copy of The River already, so I technically bought a second copy, but it was missing half of its components. So it was $3, so whatever. So I couldn't part it out for other pieces.
Yeah.
But the fact that that's how memorable this game was. Only 5 years ago did it come out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember if I owned it or not.
Yeah.
So now I'm questioning whether I should sell it. Because I'm like, if it didn't make it, if I didn't remember I owned it.
Yeah. I know.
Can I justify it?
I do want to play it. I have wanted to try it.
It's a very simple game.
I heard
very simple game.
I heard it's really simple. Next one on the list here is Corinth. This is one I don't know anything about.
It is a roll and write. I can talk a little bit about it because I'm somewhat familiar with it.
And it re-implements Ispahan?
Ispahan, yeah.
Ispahan.
Because I really like Ispahan, and that is an Istari board game. And so this is a roll and write version of that game, which is really interesting. Because what makes it super cool is that you're drafting dice. And so you roll all these dice, you put them in order. The higher the number, the better the ability. But you're also taking, you can also only take like the one that has the most of the dice.
Yeah.
So if or not, you can only take that, but like you do take the one that has the most of the dice. So if you take the bottom action, because you put them in order, 6 always goes on top, but then the rest of them fall down.
Okay.
So if you're missing any actions, you're not going to get the better of the actions, right?
Yeah.
But in that example that you saw, there was a bunch of 3s. You could take the 3s and then use them on that ability.
Okay.
I actually really, really dig Ispahan. This I haven't played this yet, but I've been wanting to ever since I found out about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the next one here is so you have some more of the expansions. We talked about the next
Ticket to Ride London.
The more map collections, and then their 2019 big game here.
Yes, which almost no one talked about.
Deep Blue.
Deep Blue. Everyone kind of like played it and was like, cool. That's
I haven't played it, so
I'm hoping that it's like super cheap on like resale value because I want to buy
it's $100.
It's $100. That's a lie because it just didn't sell. That's why.
Yeah, it's really what it is. Because again, we were talking about it when we went and had our lunch with a company where if it has a name on it, specifically like bicycle cards or Days of Wonder, it's a collector's item, so people are going to go after it.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, it's a Press Your Luck engine building game. Like, I already love the theme.
That
I love
aspect
Press Your
sounds
Luck.
really good.
I love engine building. It's nautical. Treasure diving, like, it's a super fun theme. It's just, I know every review that we watched of this where they're like, because there was other nautical treasure Press Your Luck games.
And I think
around that same
part
time.
of it too is people aren't expecting these kind of these kind of games from Days of Wonder, but they're expecting more from something that has the Days of Wonder tag on it. Because you look at something like Yamatai or Five Tribes or Ticket to Ride, where these are these big old juggernauts. When you have a miss, something like this, not to say it's a miss, but maybe if this was on any other company than Days of Wonder, it would have didn't fall as fast as it would if it was a Days of Wonder game.
Yeah, it very well could have been. Now, I do want to point out, like, the 5 different player colors of boats, those are the same model.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost expect that differently. But you have treasure chests, you have decent components, you're getting different kinds of treasures, but mostly it's just, like, a board, some pawns, and tiles.
Yeah.
So, who knows? It might be really good. I do want to try it. I just haven't yet.
So we're going to keep moving on. We're getting near the end. Again, another little one. Ticket to Ride Amsterdam, some map packs. But this next one is one I wanted to highlight real quick.
Yeah.
Because we saw it with Pandemic. When they did it, they went with Wrath of the Lich King. And I think that was a Warcraft one. Warcraft started jumping into board gaming. This one is Small World of Warcraft. So,
which, great name.
Yeah.
Great name.
And honestly, it plays exactly like Warcraft. It's just that the powers are a bit different. Small World. No, it also plays kind of like Warcraft too, because there's a mechanism in here that can change the game based on who your alignment is with.
Okay.
There is a mechanism in here, so like if you're playing, I forget the Warcraft, excuse me here, just because I don't play a lot of Warcraft, but like there's a light side and a dark side in a sense, and so it can change the rules depending if you want to play with that variant. But yeah, so you have like the gnomes and they're defensive, but these are the Warcraft characters. Here's some more stuff here. You have Pandarums, and then the map too is a bit modular if I remember correctly with this one.
Yeah, which is unlike most.
Yeah, so you have like the kobolds and fishing and goblins and charming and stuff like that. So they have different powers that make sense for, say, Warcraft.
Sure.
It's intriguing what they're doing. I haven't played it. My buddy owns a copy of it, and I do want to try it at least to see what they did a little different compared to like normal Small World.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too much different. I just did want to highlight this because I thought it was kind of neat.
Now, going back to the list, I do want to point out the next one that's up from there. So, 2020, we all know what happened then. It was the lockdowns, the pandemics. Most of the world, had specific lockdowns because we were trying to stave off the pandemic. Now, a lot of companies did stuff like this where they were like, all right, well, we're not meeting. Let's just do something fun. They released a print and play version of Ticket to Ride called Stay at Home, where you're building routes between different parts of your house. I've printed this. I haven't played it yet, But I absolutely think this is one
That's
of the
hilarious.
funniest ideas. Yeah, so all you had to do is print out the map and the different ones. You'll notice the train routes actually have different colors on certain ones of them, which is unlike others that you've seen.
Yeah.
It's like this specific route, you need a blue, a red, a yellow, and a black, right? And that's just a funny idea. And it's like drawn out like a map of your house and stuff, like the different bedrooms and stuff. It's just funny, like the desk to like the, what is that, the napping corner or something. You know, like it's just, it's silly.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be silly. So it's called Ticket to Ride, Stay at Home. I just want to point that out because I think that's just really genuinely funny.
And going next up here, we do want to highlight it again. Ticket to Ride, 15th anniversary for Europe.
Yep.
Just wanted to, again, another thing. It's not as big as the 10th anniversary is, but there is some cool aspects. You do get the different trains. They're not as cool as the newer one, or the 10th anniversary.
For the USA edition.
Yeah, but then you have like these cool little. This is what I like, these train stations.
Yeah.
Because they're parked in there.
Yeah, they can actually park inside of it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight it. Same thing, Ticket to Ride Europe, but with the 15th anniversary. And now we're hitting with their newest hit after all the other little small worlds, Lost Tribe, another small one.
Yeah, they've been kind of quiet because in 2021 they didn't have a game.
Yeah, they didn't
release one.
But again, that's also partially because of the pandemic.
Or in 2020 too.
Oh,
yeah. So Deep Sea or Deep Dive, whatever it was called, Deep Blue. That was in 2019, and they didn't do it. A lot of people were really kind of concerned.
Yeah,
there was 3 years without them until they came out with
Heat, Pedal to the Metal. Now, you and me almost got a chance to play it. We saw the box, and they're like, oh no, this is what we're doing for the demo tonight. And we're like,
oh, so close, so close. And even our friend that was with us was like, oh yeah, it's like, we're going to try it. He even requested it. He was like, hey, is this everybody playing it? Like, yeah, we're holding it for him. Rats. Oh well.
Yeah, so it is kind of a deck builder, not really, but it's just a straight racing game. You're just playing cards into your system to move around the track. The heat part of it's coming up is basically they're dead cards into your stack because you're burning up your engine, and so you just want to play your card proficiently and go around these tracks to be the fastest character. It's a racing game through and through. It looks so good. I want to get me a copy of this. It's just been hard to find in the wild right now, just because it sells out so quick. They're already on their second print run. It's already sold out again, if I remember correctly.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, it looks so good. I can't wait to get this played if one of us finds it.
Yeah, if one of us ever gets a copy of it, we'll definitely give it a try. I know we're on the lookout for it recently, but it just came out this last year. So
yeah, so it came out in 2022. It was real big, sold out. They did the second print run, which barely came out at the beginning of, I want to say, either end of May or early June, and a lot of places are already sold out of it again.
Yep,
so
exactly.
This is good for Days of Wonder because they finally have another hit.
Yes, finally, and they've been massive. So they're back, people.
I brought this up for you.
Yep. Yeah, I was curious about this. So Ticket to Ride, the Ghost trains. These are specific custom trains for Ticket to Ride. Or no, I'm sorry. I have something different. This is the next kids version of Ghost Train, and it's Halloween themed.
I know, that's why I brought it up. I mean, look at these little trains. They're cool.
Yeah, they're super adorable. They're like,
haunted houses.
They're haunted houses on trains. I mean, again, if you want to play a game with kids, this is up their alley. And it's Halloween themed.
And it's Halloween themed, so kids really love that aspect of it too.
Very much so. Yep.
It's really cool. I just wanted to pull that up just for you. Let's look at the board real quick.
Yep.
It's adorable.
Yeah, and you have the graveyard, the pumpkin
patch, swamp.
Yeah, foggy lighthouse, the circus.
If I had kids, I would buy this version specifically.
Yeah, I have teenagers, so I can't.
Yeah, it's great. Really cute.
Yep. Yeah, it's stinking adorable, and like the train, they're good quality. I'm sure it's another $30 one. It's super worth it. And then again, Northern Lights. Yeah, Ticket to Ride. Berlin.
That's their newest small box, right?
Yep, and they haven't released it yet, I don't think.
There's not enough ratings on it.
And now we're going into the realms where these are brand new. It's not even out yet, but they just announced what their game of this year is going to be.
Ticket to Ride Legacy Legends of the West. This is a legacy Ticket to Ride game.
Yep. And this is probably why my wife wants to play Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, and so basically you're building out towards the west of the board. So basically you're as a group, competitive-wise, you're building literally out to the western United States because this time frame, I don't know exactly when the years are, but I'm assuming...
If we had to guess, it's early 1900s, Industrial Revolution.
It's probably late 1800s because that's when they started moving all that stuff out to the west.
Yeah, it could be.
Because you got the Transcontinental Railroad and stuff like that.
Sure, yep.
So it's very intriguing what they're doing here. I want to play this because, I mean, it looks like little puzzle pieces. So you're basically going to add stuff to the board as you're going along. And so I'm liking, this is supposed to be where Florida's at.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but there was a Florida box, right?
Yeah.
So there's different
and there's different boxes,
things.
so you can kind of see, here's Florida, Open Range, the Badlands. I like this one.
Haunted Wastes, yeah, Great Plains, Sierra Madre, Cascadia, and California.
So I like everything that they're talking about.
I like how they look like wooden crates. That looks cool.
Alan Moon, Matt Leacock, Rob Davio.
Yes. Now, here's the thing, though. All those, just the outside of the boxes and the...
Wow, that was a thunderstorm, or thunder there.
That was odd. Yeah, so all of these things make sense, and you're trying to complete the different tickets. I get it, but here's the thing. It just looks like you're playing a short version of Ticket to Ride and expanding it to a bigger version of Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, so 19th century, so it's 1800s.
But I know we've had Rob Davio on the podcast before. He is a stickler for storyline, and so is Matt Leacock, from what we understand. They want storyline. So can you just do that with a story by itself? I don't know.
Yeah, well, if they go follow the historical aspect, there's a story
Sure.
there because you're pushing out towards the west in the 1800s.
Right.
So if they go into the Transcontinental Railroad, maybe there's going to be something historically about the Native Americans or people losing land out in the western territories because the railroads are taking over, or we're not nice people because we're rail barons.
It's true, right? It's like all the oil barons that were around, the different big names, the billionaires and stuff. I'm very curious. Obviously it's Ticket to Ride, right? You got to be resourceful. You got to build your routes, but how are you going to be able to do that in a legacy setting? I'm very curious. I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it looks really intriguing. I do want to try it out. It'd be really cool.
Yep. And so, just so you guys know, we're filming this on the 3rd of July in 2023. So that's, as of this time, that is the whole gamography of Days of Wonder. This has been a fun episode. Kind of a long one, but as you can see, they support their games. They fell off for a few minutes there. A couple years.
For a couple years, I mean, they had one really bad kerfluffle, I guess you can say.
Right.
And then, 2020, 2021, everything's starting to ramp back up, so they're like, okay, here's some games.
Right, exactly. So, there you go, Days of Wonder. We hope you found this podcast interesting today. You can always join us. If you want to join us, like our friend Crate, Creative Chaos, joining us on our live episode, you can. Filming a little off today just because of the holiday tomorrow. But you can join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
And if you want to reach out to us directly, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, and you can do so whether you want to give us ideas for future episodes, enter in possible contests that may or may not be happening, or just to reach out and say hi. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
And with that being said, close us out.
I want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
Remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.